How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ein Gimel, Daf 73 of Masechta Gittin. Friends, we're getting close. We're getting close. Yeah, like 17 pages left. Yeah, not bad. Okay. Babylon. Alrighty. We're going to start on Daf Ein Beis and Beis by the two dots about 10-15 lines from the bottom. Zagitech me'ayom imati mecholi zeh ve'amud balach bashuk v'chulei. So if you have a fellow who says, this is your get from today, imati mecholi zeh, if I die from this disease, but then ve'amud balach bashuk, he got up, he was walking around shuk machne Yehuda, David Dagim, pitzuchi kahana, mizrachi perot v'irakot, he was walking around hitting the spots, roasters, and then he got sick again and he died. So the shaila is, did I miss anything? Kraft pizza. What else? People, what are your favorite spots in Shuk Machne Yehuda? Did I miss anything? Azura. Anybody been to Azura? That place is good. Okay. So he's walking around Shuk Machne Yehuda and then he got sick again and he died. So the shaila is, so we have to see, did he die from the first disease? If he died from the first disease, so then they're divorced from me'ayom. But if he died from the second disease, so then there was no condition there. Then they weren't divorced. She's a widow. Amar Rav Huna. So now says Rav Huna, we've seen this before. Gito kamat naso. When it comes to a shchiv mira, a fellow who's on his deathbed, so if he gives a get to his wife, it's basically it has the same halachis as though he would have given a gift to somebody. Mamat naso, just like when he gives a gift, im omad choser, if he survives, so he gets it back. Avgito im omad choser. So also his get, if he survives, it goes back. So meaning, a shchiv mira who gives a get to his wife, a regular get, shchiv mira gives a get to his wife, and then he survives, so the get is null and void. They're still married. Umagito afagavdelo parish kimdamar ksovu afagavdelo omartenu. And just like when it comes to a get, even though he just said write a get, he didn't say give the get, right? As we learned the other day, there are certain people that they're all flustered, and because they're flustered, even if they just say to write a get, it means be'esim to write it and to give it. A shchiv mira is one of them. So af matnoso so oichit, when it comes to if he gives a gift, came to Amar Tenu, when he says to give it, avagav to lo kanumine, even though they didn't make a kinyan, when it comes to the gift, if he says give the gift to so and so, so you give it to so and so. So Tanam, we learn in our Mishnah, Zakitech me'ayom imati mecholi. This is your get from today. If I die from this disease, ve'amar v'alach bashuk, and then he stood up and he went to Shuk Machne Yehuda. V'chalav ameis, but then he got sick again and he died. Om demoso, so we evaluate him. In machmas choli arishin meis, if he died on account of the initial sickness, how is a get? Okay, so it's a get, like he stipulated, right? If I die from this disease, so then you're divorced from today. Im lav, but if it's determined that he died from a different disease, eno get, then it's not a get, because he said if I die from this disease, it's a get, not from a different disease. Ve'i omart, and if you say im omar choser, now if Rav Huna, what you're saying is correct, that a shchiv mira, once he is omad, once he stands up, once he's no longer sick, the get is null and void. Well then, lamali umdana, why do I need to evaluate anything? Was it the first disease, second disease? Hare omad, he got up, he went to Shuk Machne Yehuda. So it's he got up, so the get is null and void. Who needs to evaluate anything? He got up, the get is null and void. But yet, our Mishnah says we have to evaluate. It's not so simple. So how could Rav Huna say it's so simple that if he gets up, then the get is null and void? So Marbred de Rav Yosef says in the name of Rav that when it says in the Mishnah that if he got up, it doesn't mean that he literally got up and he survived. It means that the first disease went away, but then he got sick with another disease. But it was he didn't actually get healed in the meantime. But it says he got up. means that he got up from this disease, but then fell into another disease. It says he's walking around, Shuk Machne Yehuda, David Agim, Mizrachi Perot Virakot, Azura, Pitzuche Kahana, roasters. Halach HaMishanto. So what it means, yeah, sure, he's walking around Shuk Machne Yehuda, but with a cane, with a stick. He wasn't healed yet. What it's letting us know is the halach hamashanto hu diba'inun that you only need to evaluate, if is it the first disease or the second disease. If in the meantime he got up and he was walking around in Shuk Machne Yehuda with the help of a stick. Idoch, but if he was still bedridden, or not necessarily bedridden, but if he wasn't able to, get up and walk around Shuk Machne Yehuda, so umdino nami lo ba'inon, then we don't need to evaluate anything. We assume that it's that it's the first disease. Okay, Shmazmina. Okay, fine. Shmazmina shchivmira shenitak micholi lecholi matnoso matona. Okay, so that implies that if we're saying that this fellow who we're saying the only reason why we need to evaluate him is because he got up and he's walking around Shuk Machne Yehuda. But if he didn't do that, so then there's nothing to evaluate, and then we don't do an evaluation. So that means that if you just go from one disease to the next disease, so then his matana is still a matana, right? Because we're saying it's not considered like he got up in between. So therefore, right, the matana of a shivmira who went from one disease to the next isn't considered omed, right? It's not considered like he ever got healed, and therefore the matana the gift is a good gift. Yes, that's true. The Amr of Elazar, Mishmei Derav, shivmira shenitak michol lechol matnos matana, that a shivmira who goes from one disease to another disease, his gift is a good gift. I'm telling you, I got back from Virginia. Remember, I was out in the nature in Virginia. I don't know what. I must have gotten bitten by I don't know what I got bitten by. Maybe spiders. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. What's the deal with bug bites? Are they like the gift that keeps on giving? I don't know. Like, I feel like the bites that I got in Virginia are like still like making more bites now, or maybe there's different, but I don't know. All of a sudden, since I was out in the nature, I'm like, Mr. Bitey. Let's go weiter. All right. So, okay. Rabba v'Rava lo svir lehu ha di Rav Huna. Now, Rabba and Rava don't hold the Rav Huna. Rav Huna says that a shchivmira who survives, so the get is null and void. Rabba and Rava say that's not the case. If a shchivmira gives a get to his wife, we can't just say that if he survives, the get is not a get. Because we're concerned that people might get the wrong idea. Right? If we say that if a shchivmira gives a get to his wife, it's only a get as long as he dies. People might get the wrong idea and say that, okay, so when he dies, it's a get. Yesh get lachar misa. So therefore, in order to avoid that situation, Rabba and Rava say that Rabba and Rava say that the get is a good get. That the get is a good get, right? That if a shchivmira gives a get to his wife, it's a get. And therefore, she's divorced and she can get married to other people. But I don't understand. I don't understand. Rabba and Rava are be'etzim saying that we agree with Rav Huna in principle. That a shchivmira who gives a get to his wife and then he survives, it's not a get, and they're still married, and she's an eshes ish. We agree with that in principle, but we're concerned. We're concerned that if you say that if we say that it's not a good get because he survived, then people are going to say, well, it's only a good get if he dies, and therefore yesh get lachar misa. So therefore we say, it's not a. So therefore we say that a shchivmira who gives a get to his wife, it's a get, and that is that. So, and therefore we treat her as divorced, and she can get remarried. But I don't understand. Midoraisa, it's not a get if he survives, and she's an eshes ish. But you're saying out of your concern, you say that it is a good get, and therefore she's divorced, and now you're going to allow an Eishes Ish to get remarried? You better bet your bottom dollar, called the Mekadesh. I died to the Rabbanan Mekadesh, as we've seen before. We've mamish seen these next few lines a few times, I think. That anybody who gets married under the definition of marriage that the rabbis define. That built into the marriage is that this marriage is conditional, is on the condition that it respects the laws of the rabbis, and therefore a marriage can be, nullified, made null and void, based on the conditions based on the rules that the rabbis set. And therefore, and the rabbis in this case, that if you have a situation of a shchiv mirah, and a shchiv mirah gives a get, that get is going to either be a good get because he dies, and even if he survives, it's a good get because midrabanan, we're going to say, look, this guy when he got married, he had in mind that his marriage was going to be governed by the laws that the rabbis state, and the rabbis state in this case, the marriage is annulled. And therefore, a shchiv mirah who gives a get, it is a good get no matter what. If he dies, it's a good get midoraisa. If he survives, it's still a good get because the rabbis say, look, in this case, you're no longer married. So that can make sense if you say, if he got married with money. If he gave her money, and then now the rabbis are saying, no, we're just going to treat that money like it was a gift. And it wasn't actually kesef kiddushin. But Kaddish B'Biyah, Ma'ika L'Meimar. But what if it was Kiddushay Biyah, where they didn't give any, where there was no money? He can't just say, the rabbis can't just say the money that he gave was a gift. So, well, the rabbis are able to say that the Biyah that they had was not Biyah L'Shem Kiddushin, it was Biyah L'Shem Znus, and Me'ikara, they kind of undo the marriage, and that is how Rabban and Rava can say that the get of a shchiv mirah is a good get, even if he survives. Okay, fine. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Zegitech me'ayom emati mecholi zeh. So if a fellow says, this is your get from today, if I die from this disease, and guess what happens? He dies. He didn't survive. He didn't get healed from the disease. V'nafal abayis olav or yichisho nachash. But then his house fell down on him, or he got bit by a snake. I don't know what I got bit by. What do you think I got bit by? These must be bites. There must be some kind of bites. What do you think it was a bite? Anybody live in Virginia? What kind of things bite you over there? Do spiders bite? Nah, come on. Yeah, maybe. Nah, come on. What do you think it was? Some kind of mosquito? Some kind of... I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. I think it was a tick. It could be ticks, but I feel like I would have found it by now. I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. Akoponim. So you have this guy, he's terminally ill. And he doesn't get healed from this disease, but he ends up dying from an unexpected event. His house collapsed, or he got bit by a snake. Eino get, so it's not a good get because he didn't die from the disease. He still had the disease, but he didn't die from the disease, and therefore it's not a good get. Imlo amod mecholi zeh. Now, if he says that this is my get, that you are divorced if I don't, survive this disease, even if all of bias, and then the house falls down on him, or a snake bites him, I raise a get. Now we're saying that it is a good get. Mashna ratio, mashna seifa. I don't understand. How come we're saying that the same case in the ratio is not a good get, and the seifa it is a good get? So sholchu mitam. So they sent back from Eretz Yisrael. There was some kind of situation where some guy also, he said, if I don't survive this disease, it's a get. Then he got eaten by a lion. Achlo arya in lanu. He says, look, it's too unexpected. A guy gets eaten by a lion. It was too unexpected. It's not a good get. All right. So there was a fellow, let's call him Shimon, who sold his property to Reuven. And Shimon says, look, Reuven, I'm selling you the field. if anything comes up, you just come to me. Something's going, and if that's what he says. If there are any issues, you come to me. But then what happens? Apiku banaira. You know what happens? The government decides that they need to make a river, they need to make a stream, and it's going right through the field that Reuven just bought from Shimon. So he comes back to Shimon, and he says, Shimon, you said that you accepted if there are any issues, you come to me. The government wants to make a river right through the property, right through the property, and I'm going to lose the property, lose the field. So now what? So also the comment of Ravina. So they came to Ravina. Omar lay zil shafile. So Ravina says, look, Shimon, look, you said to Reuven, if there are any issues, you come to me. There's an issue here. There's an issue here. He's about to lose the field that you sold him. Pay him. Pay Reuven back. Give him back his money. After all, Shimon, you accepted upon yourself anything that might arise. Rav Acha bar Tachlifa says to Ravina, come on, Ravina, this is completely out of left field. When Shimon says that I'm going to accept anything that comes up, okay, if it turns out that there's some issue with the soil that was never known before, or ich weiß was whatever could happen, something happens with the field, so Shimon's going to cover that. The fact that the government decided out of nowhere that they're making a river and that it's going to run directly through the field, come on, left field. They came before Rava, and Rava says to them, and Rava says, yeah, that's correct. This is completely unexpected. Shimon is not responsible for that. This is completely out of left field. But Ravina says to Rava, I don't understand. We have a brisa that says, this is a get if I don't survive this disease, or the house fell on him, or he was bitten by a snake. How is a get? It's a good get. Even though these completely unexpected things happen. So here also, this is completely unexpected. I agree. But it's still a good get. But Shimon should still be responsible. So Rava says, I don't understand. Why are you bringing me a proof from the Seifa of that brisa? Remember, that was a contradictory brisa. The Reisha says it's not a good get. The Seifa says it is a good get. Right? The Reisha says that in the same situation where it's a completely out of left field, it's not a good get. So also Shimon shouldn't be responsible. Now it says Rav Acha midifti to Ravina. Wait, I have a question. Just because the brisa is contradictory, that the Reisha and the Seifa contradict them to each other, we can't ask a kasha from the brisa? To which Ravina is like, yeah, exactly. Well, if you have a brisa that completely contradicts itself, that says that in the same situation, in the Reisha it says it's not a good get, and the Seifa says it is a good get, yeah, that means that clearly this brisa was not taught in the Beis HaMedrash, where it would have been clarified, it's clearly a mistaken, unedited, unauthentic brisa. We can't rely upon it. Just go based on svara, based on what makes sense, and what makes sense is that if something completely unexpected happens, so then it's not, in a get, it would not be a get. In this case, Shimon would not be responsible for. The achraya is to pay back Reuven, to cover Reuven's losses. Rav Papa and Rav Huna Beit Rav Yehoshua, so Rav Papa and Rav Huna Beit Rav Yehoshua, Zovun Tzumtzumei, Agittin Malka. So they bought they invested in sesame seeds on the banks of Nar Malka. Ogru Malochi La'avo Rinu, and then Rav Papa and Rav Huna Beit Rav Yehoshua, they hired a boatsman to take them back to where they were coming from, maybe Narish or whatever. Kabilu alayu kolon to the mislid, and the sellers of the sesame, they said, look, if there are any problems, we'll cover it. L'sof istakar nar malka. Well, on their way home, it turned out that the nar malka was dammed, and they couldn't travel on nar malka. So amru lehu. So then Rav Papa and Rav Huna Beit Rav Yehoshua said to the sellers, Agoru chamrei, Chamore, hire for us donkey drivers, because we can't take Nar Malka, and you said you're responsible for anything that comes up. What came up is that our way back got canceled for a completely unexpected reason. And we want you to pay for our donkeys now, because because you sellers accepted upon yourself any onus that might come up. And what came up is that the river, our way back, was dammed. So cover now our donkey fares. Also, so the question came before Rava Amalu, and Rava says to Rav Papa and Rav Huna brother of Yeshua, really? Kaike chivare, black, white geese, old Talmidei Chachamim, mishalche glime de inshe. You're trying to strip people of their clothing over here. This was something that was completely unexpected. The sellers they couldn't have anticipated that the river was going to be dammed. They're not responsible to pay for your donkey fare. Says the new Mishnah, Lo tisyachid imo ele b'fnei edim. Okay, so now the interesting shaila is, what happens during this interim time? Right? The husband says, Hareze gitei chemati micholize. Right? Me'ayom mati micholize. Right? He says, this is your get from today. This is your get from today. This is your get from today. If I die, one second, Me'ayom imati. Okay, he said, this is your get from today if I die. So we said in the Mishnah that when he says, this is your get from today if I die, so if he dies, then the divorce from that day. So what's with this whole interim period? Because it's kind of awkward, right? Because when he dies, they're then retroactively divorced. So what's the deal with this interim period when he hasn't yet died, so they're not yet divorced? Lo tisyachid imo el b'fnei edim. She should not be alone with the husband during this period unless there are witnesses around to make sure that they're not going to bia. Afilu al pi eved, afilu al pi shifcha. Now those edim could even be an eved or a shifcha. I assume that means k'nainis. Chutz mi shifchasa, except for her shifcha, because she feels comfortable around her shifcha, and I guess they might even have bia together around her shifcha. Okay. Now, what is her status during these days? Now, the Gemara is going to explain that this is talking about a situation where he says to her, what does he say to her? Right, that this is your get, I guess, from the time that I'm still in the world. Right? So the shaila is, what does that mean? So we're going to see later on in the daf that Reb Meir understands that to mean from that day, right? From the time of giving. Rabbi Yehuda, as we're going to, so Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, so Rabbi Yehuda says that no, they're considered married up until the last moment before he dies, and at that point it's considered a get, but up until then she's an Eish Ish, and anybody who sleeps with her would be by accident would be a chatas. Rabbi Yossi says it's unclear, because basically the way we treat it is like every single minute until he dies is like a question of maybe this is the last minute, and therefore it's like a sort of a suffix get, and therefore if somebody sleeps with her by accident it would be an asham talui, because we're not sure if she's an Eish at that moment or not. Fine. So if they saw that she was secluded with him in the dark, or she slept with him beneath the legs of the bed, we're not concerned that maybe they had bia. Okay? They didn't see her have bia. They didn't see them have bia. But they saw that they were together. We're not concerned that they had bia. And we are concerned about znus. And we're not concerned about kiddushin. The Gemara is going to ask in a second, I don't understand, what do you mean znus? We just said that we're not concerned that they had bia. So what are you talking about znus? But okay, fine. We're going to explain this basically for the rest of the Amud. So we are not concerned about wait, what? We are concerned about znus. We're not concerned about kiddushin, that they had bia l'shem kiddushin. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer Af Chosheshem Mishum Kiddushin. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says we are even concerned about Kiddushin. Okay. Micah Omer, what's going on in this brisa? Okay, so Omer of Nachman, Omer Rabbi Barvua Achi Kamer, says of Nachman the name Rabbi Barvua, this is what's going on. Ra'ua shenivala. If we saw that the mamish had bia, well then choshishin mishum kiddushin. Well, if the mamish saw that they had bia, so then we have to be concerned that maybe they had bia l'shem kiddushin. Nosan la ksafim. If he gave her money afterwards, well then choshishin mishum znus. Then we have to be concerned about znus da'aminon be'esnana nosan los. Then we have to be concerned that actually they had bia and then he gave her money as a payment, right, which would make it znus. Ve'ein choshishim mishum kiddushin, but we're not concerned about kiddushin. Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda Omer, af bazo choshishim mishum kiddushin. Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda says that no, even here, when money was given, still we're concerned about kiddushin. Okay, fine. K'man azal da Amar Rabbi bar Chana. Like who does Rabbi bar Chana go? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, machlokes k'shera'ua shenivala. That the machlokes is when they saw that she had bia, avalora u'shenivala divrei hakol ein tzricha imenu get sheni. K'man k'divrei hakol. So this is a machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, that when it comes to a fellow who gave a get to his, who wrote a get, and then they were together in a, I believe it's talking about where they wrote a get. Oh, I guess that they already got divorced, I guess. Okay, so I guess that they already got divorced. And then they were sleeping in the same hotel. Sleeping together in the same room in the same hotel. So the shaila is, does she need to now receive another get? Beis Hillel says yes. Beis Shammai says no. So now, what are we talking about? So where are we? So we had said up until now, right? According to Rabbi bar Yehuda, we had said that if they didn't see them have bia, well then ein choshish in the kiddushin. If they did see them have bia, so then choshish in the kiddushin. So again, where are we? Kaman Azla, about 10 lines into the Amud. Kaman Azla, the Amr, Rabbi bar Chana, Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Like who does the statement Rabbi bar Chana, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, go? Machlokes, that the machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, where Beis Hillel says, and of course we pass him like Beis Hillel, is, and she needs a get, is kishera'ua shenivala. That's only if they saw that they had bia. Avalora ur shenivala, but if they didn't see that they had bia, well then, divrei hakol ein tzricha imenu get. Everyone agrees that she would not require a get. Sheni, a second get. Kiman k'divrei hakol. That's like everybody. I mean, up until, right? Everyone agrees that if they didn't see them at bia, so no requirement for a get. And if they did see them at bia, so then she would need a get, right? Beis Hillel, like Beis Hillel says. Maskif lo Abaye, but Abaye asks the kasha, midi ksafim katoni. Rav Nachman, the name of Rav bar Yehuda, explained that our brisa is talking about, well, it depends. If they didn't see them at bia, so then you don't have to be concerned about kiddushin. If they did see them at bia, so then you do have to be concerned about kiddushin. If there was esnan, if he gave her money afterwards, we're concerned that maybe it was esnan zona. The brisa didn't say anything about money, right? If you look at the brisa, what does it say? Tachas margalos hamita ein choshishin shemen nisasku b'davar acher v'choshishim mishum znus v'choshishim mishum kiddushin. Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda Omer av choshishim mishum kiddushin. Nobody said anything about money over there. So Bai says, I don't understand why we're talking about money. Are there people making noise outside? I mean, I think so. El Omar Abai rather says Abai, Hochi Ka'omar. This is how to explain that brisa. Ra'ua shenivala, that if they saw her have bia, well then choshishim mishum znus, vein choshishim mishum kiddushin. And we're only concerned about znus, we're not concerned about kiddushin. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, af choshishim mishum kiddushin. No, we're even concerned about kiddushin. Well then, Kiman azlaha, the Amr Rabbi bar Chana, Amr Rabbi Yochanan, machlokes k'shira'ua shenivala, that the machlokes that Beis Hillel says that she needs a get is when they saw that she had bia. Avalora'ua shenivala divrei hakol ein tzricha imenu get. But if they didn't see them at bia, so then everyone agrees that she would not require a get. Sheni Kiman Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Well, that's like Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, who says that, according to Abaye, that if they had bia, so then choshesh in the kiddushin, and she would need a second get. So that's like Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Maskif la Rava. Rava asks the kasha, Imkain, my af. Well then, what's pshat with even so? Because the way that Rava understands it is that when there was bia, so then the Tanakama is saying that no, we're not. We don't assume that it was kiddushin. We assume that it was just znus. And then Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda is saying that no, we're even choshesh for kiddushin. What do you mean even? Right? It says no, meaning it was a leniency, and it's not meaning if it was like a stringency, right? If it was like choshesh mishum znus was like a stringency. And then Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda is saying, no, not only znus, but even kiddushin. But that's not it. It's that, right? Rav is saying, yeah, you understand the Tanakama that we don't do it the same kiddushin. We're lenient that it is going to be, right, that it's only znus. In that case, what is Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda adding on to their leniency? He's being more stringent and saying that we're choshesh l'shem kiddushin. So therefore, Elama Rava achi kamar. Rather, says Rava, this is what it is saying, and there's some extra words in the Agos V'Tzunim that I think gives a little bit more context. So I'll throw that in. Ra'u sheniva, that if they saw that she had bia, chosheshim mishum znus, so then we're concerned about znus ve'ein chosheshim mishum kiddushin, and we're not concerned about kiddushin. Okay, fine. So the Tanakama is lenient and says that we're only concerned about znus, not kiddushin. Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Omer, I'm back in the Gemara now. Says Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, af lo ra'u sheniva mishum kiddushin. That even in the first case, actually, he says, not only are we not lenient in the second case, even in the first case, when we didn't see her have bia, we're concerned about kiddushin. Well then, Kiman Azla, the Omer Rabba Bachana, Omer B'Yochnan, Machlokas Kisharu'ur Shenivala, that Beis Hillel says that she needs a second get when she had bia. But if they didn't see her have bia, then everyone agrees that she does not require a get. It's not like anybody, right? Because in this case, what are we saying? We're saying that when she had bia, so then Beis Hillel says that she needs to get a get. If there was no bia, then everyone agrees that she does not require a get. Well, according to the Tanakama would say that even when they saw her have bia, we're not chosheshim mishum kiddushin, and she wouldn't need a get, but it was only znus. And when they didn't see her have bia, so then not everybody agree. Right? So Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda would say that even there we do have to be concerned about kiddushin. So therefore, if that's the case, then this statement of Rabbi Bachana says name Rabbi Yochanan, it's like neither Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda nor is it like the Tanakama. Alright. So we said that what is her status, the wife's status during these interim days between when she receives the get and when the fellow dies. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ke'eshes ish l'chol, she's like an eshes ish. Rabbi Yossi Omer says Rabbi Yossi megoreshes ve'ein megoreshes. It's like she's divorced and also not divorced. Tana v'vat yamus, that as long as he dies, l'chimis havegita. But how can it be that when he dies, then it's considered a get? I thought ein get lachamisa amraba b'me'eis shani ba'olam. Well, it's when he says that this is your get from the time that I'm still in this world, right? So the question is, what does that mean? Rav Meir says that it means that from the time that she receives the get, which means during that whole time she's considered like she is divorced, and Rabbi Yehuda says that whole time she's considered like an eshes ish until right before he dies, and Rabbi Yossi says that entire time she's considered like a suffix because we never know is this right before he's going to die. That during this interim period, right, her husband is able to benefit from things that she finds, things that she makes, it could be Mefer in the Darm, V'yarsha, he inherits her. And he becomes tamiter. They're considered like married for all intents and purposes during that period. Just that she doesn't need a second get because the get kicks in right before he dies. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Reb Meir Omer says Reb Meir bilasa tluya. So Reb Meir says no. In this case, if he dies, so then they're already divorced from the time that she had received the get. And therefore, it depends. If he dies, so then they were divorced, which means that if somebody sleeps with her, so then they're already divorced, and he doesn't have to bring any korbanos. But if he doesn't die, so then she's still considered an Eishes Ish, and she'll have to bring korban chatas. Rabbi Yossi Omer says Rabbi Yossi bi'ilasa safek. Rabbi Yossi says that no, the bi'ila is a safek. He'd have to bring an ashram tali. And the Chacham say that she's also be'etzem a safek. The Gemara is going to ask in a second, isn't Rabbi Yossi and the Chacham saying the same thing? As long as he dies. Ma'ika bein Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yossi. What's the difference between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi? Amar Rabbi Yochanan ashram tali yikebenayu. Rabbi Meir lo ma'isi ashram tali. According to Rabbi Meir, there wouldn't be an ashram tali, right? It depends. If the guy dies, so then she was divorced from that time, and the guy wouldn't have to bring any korban, right, from the time that she received the get. And if he doesn't die, so then he would have to bring a korban chatas. Rabbi Yossi ma'isi ashram tali. But according to Rabbi Yossi, no matter what, he would bring an ashram tali, because we treat that entire time like we don't know, is he going to die now or not? The Chacham say megoreshes ve'en megoreshes, that she's divorced and also not divorced. Chacham hanu Rabbi Yossi. The Chacham are saying the same thing as Rabbi Yossi, who says it's a suffix. Siki benayu de Reb Zera. The nafkamin is Reb Zera, the Amar Reb Zera, Amar Bar Yirmiyah, Amar Shmuel. Whenever they say megoreshes ve'en megoreshes by the chayv b'mizonoseh, her husband is chayv to pay for her mizonos, to support her. So that would be according to the Chacham, who say megoreshes ve'en megoreshes, but according to Rabbi Yossi, who says it's a suffix, he would not be chayv to pay for the mizonos. You might ask, but in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi had said megoreshes ve'en megoreshes, so Rashi says you could say that it's two different Tanoim explaining the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Friends, that was Daf Ein Gimel of Masechta Gittin. Alright, the first Amud basically talked about things that come out of left field, and you have to be concerned about that. We discussed the opinion of Rav Huna that a Shchiv Mero gives a get, so if he survives, it's not a get. Rabba and Rava argued and said that no, even if he survives, it is a good get, and that's because of called the Mekadesh Adaita de Rabbanan Mekadesh. Then we talked about basically what's the status of this woman in a situation where he says that this is your get if I die. So what's her status in the interim? Friends, that was Daf Ein Gimel of Masechta Gittin. I hope you enjoy. Peace out.